Now that I'm up here in Maine and I have a free day, I'm spending that gardening. And it's not even my own garden, but I just love to spend time in other people's gardens to see what they're trying to do and help them out. So here, this is quite a big property with a garden over here that's been established a while ago, and they're refreshing it. They're trying to replant it a bit. It's supposed to be a show garden in the future. By the way, this John Deere tractor, amazing. I got to ride on the back of it. Unfortunately, don't know how to drive sticks. I did not get to drive it. But I want to show you what we did in here because we did a lot of weeding, a lot of cleanup, and it's already looking a lot more clean. I'll tell you roughly what the plans are. So let me walk you through this garden space because I spent the morning already weeding it. I finally got some dirt under my fingernails again. They've been clean for too long since I've been on the road filming this mushroom content here up in Maine. So first of all, the vista, immaculate. In the back there, probably can't see them, but let me actually get a little closer. One of the cool things is that they have a bunch of sheep and they're collecting the wool. Eventually, the plans are to make things like rugs. But the really cool thing about this property is that it's very old. I think the house is like mid 1800s, and there's tons of apple trees everywhere. So you see those little dots, those are the sheep. That's an old apple tree. All of these are apple trees. And so these apples fall and the sheep get to eat them. They get to graze on all these different sort of prairie plants, these grasses, the clovers, the flowers, and they're loving it. So really cool to see. And of course they are producing manure. So they're regenerating, of course, the grass here. They're adding nutrients. And it's just really cool to see this kind of mixed use land. Now over here, back to the garden, it is flanked by a lot of flowers that look super cool. A lot of different foliage, a lot of different leaves, colors in spring. And actually here in this area, more like in summer, when everything is blooming, it looked incredible. She showed me pictures. But basically this whole morning I've spent pulling weeds. So over here, there's a lot of different weeds. There's like some of the standard stuff like grasses, a lot of mallows, lamb's quarters, nightshades. But for the most part, it's this other thing called creeping Charlie. This is this weed that I've heard of before, but in our area, we don't get it. So right down here at the base of these tomato plants, here's the creeping Charlie. It's this guy right there. And it's called creeping because look at that. It spreads and roots wherever the stem touches the ground. So this is a very challenging weed to get rid of because it will root everywhere it contacts and it's very good at spreading. So this whole area here, for example, was covered in it. There was areas covered in mallows, which were very easy to pull because the soil is like so rich and soft. Like even just with my hand, I could get in there and you could see the richness of the soil here. So that's really cool to see. So this whole bed, the plan is that it's going to be garlic. So there's a garlic right there from last year that came up, a couple peppers. Now we are in Maine, so this is mid-September. These peppers aren't going to be here for long. It's going to have first frost in probably about a month. So that'll be a great time to get garlic in before the first frost. Over here, you can see the row of tomatoes, tomatillos. Again, these won't be here forever. Now, one thing that they do have, and I don't know if it's as big of a problem here in Maine since they get the frosts and the freezes. Like down here, there's a mint that's absolutely delicious, really wonderful smell. Over here's the lemon balm. They don't seem to be spreading that aggressively, at least not yet. So it'll be interesting to hear about that. They also have rhubarb here, which actually looks just like my rhubarb. It's cool to see that even in Maine, which is fantastic for rhubarb, it's actually doing quite well in my garden. It looks basically the same. So I'm happy to see that. Here are all the weeds that I pulled. Quite the pile. Now things like the creeping Charlie, probably not a good idea to compost and mix in, but if I lay it on top and let this sort of dry down instead of properly composting it, it should kill it off just fine. Over here, these birdies beds, I'm gonna pull these old beans and I'm thinking maybe carrots can go in here. They have a strawberry bed, which is looking quite nice. The strawberries look super happy and healthy. The leaves look incredible. There's no like weird brown spots. So very cool to see the different garden world, different space, how to use it. And now I'm gonna do a little bit more cleanup and figure out what to plant in here next. So this one here is the only one that has proper beans and it has some flowers. So in theory, these flowers could produce beans before like some sort of frost. But again, why leave one plant in here? Instead, what we could do is just harvest the remaining beans, cook them up for a quick snack for lunch, and just move on with the season. The next thing I want to do is give this garden a little bit of a reboot. Even though the season's almost over, I could see that these tomatoes, for example, have a lot of this black spot. It's probably a bacterial black spot. And I also suspect that because the tomatoes themselves, the fruit, are getting all these little spots on them. So if you take a closer look, you could see that rot. It is ruining the tomato. So these are not for good eating. It's not like a little blemish you could cut away, it's going to be gross because it is actually trying to rot the tomato. So anything that has that, I will remove. I don't want to put it in their compost bin because I don't want to propagate it. Things like bacterial diseases, I actually don't know how they function here in Maine. Like, do they get killed off by a hard freeze? San Diego, nothing dies because it never freezes. It just lives forever. So just to be safe, since I'm not entirely sure, I could do a little research, of course, but I am going to set these aside. Then I'll do research, and then I'll think about whether these are going to green waste or somewhere just random out this big property, or they could just go in the compost. And here's everything we harvested for now. We've got a lot of tomatoes. Definitely can make a tasty salad here. Handful of green beans. In here we have a nice collection of tomatillos, so we could do some salsa verde, a cucumber, and a nice pile of squash. But really, this is like the harvest. Look at how beautiful this is. Just enjoying the space. It's been so much fun. Oh, there's one bad tomato that made it in here. You can see that spot disease. Definitely don't want to eat that. So I did gather up the materials yesterday. I have a nice bale here of some sort of straw or feed, hay, whatever you want to call it. It's a grass. Underneath, I have all those little maple chunks that I broke apart from the tree that we fell to make inoculated shiitake log. So I'm going to bring this over into the garden space. I'll give you the very quick rundown on a wine cap bed. I've done a full video on it, but I wanted to show you guys here how to do it with something that's not what I did it with. I did it with a straw bale that I got from the nursery and some wood chips. This is with real tree material and hay. So that's the cool thing, is that you don't need like something very specific. You just need something for them to decompose. Even if I did it with just the hay, it would work. It would probably only fruit once and then it would be gone. By adding in these chunks of maple down here, we're going to stretch the lifespan of this bed, hopefully give it a year or two, and then, or actually at least a year, sorry, probably 2, because these logs are going to get inoculated. As long as you keep adding hay to that bed, it will continue to produce mushrooms. So let's get in there, set it up, and build this bed. So let's reframe the context. Here's the garden. All the chips are in the pathways, so that might even provide pathway for the mycelium to run through this whole garden and produce mushrooms across the space. But right here, this pocket is where we're going to be building the actual mushroom bed. So there was this stump here of some sort of wood. I don't actually know. It's actually, no, I'm not going to guess. I have no idea what kind of wood that is. I'm not a tree expert, but we're going to leave it in place and build around it just because I thought it might be fun. And then over here, what I wanted to also call out is that there was some fabric here, or there is, not was, some of this weed fabric down here that they added. I am not going to remove that. I have full confidence that the mycelium, if it wanted to, can get through that. And also, like I said, this whole space is chipped over. So if they want to run, they want to spread, they can almost certainly do it. I'm also going to build it up right on that fence line where there is no more fabric. So hopefully that will help decompose and feed this amazing flower bed here, because that is, of course, one of the benefits of growing mushrooms in your garden is the great soil that it produces. The first thing I'm going to be doing here is getting this whole area wet. Now here, I'm actually not that worried. I think they have rain on the horizon for next week. So even if I built this dry, it would probably be okay, but I would definitely still not recommend it. At least for the substrate, the material that you're putting your mushroom spawn onto, you want that to at least be somewhat wet. So let me get this wet. We'll break down that bale and we'll get this going. Now, this is the important thing to mention, like I said, is that this straw, or sorry, I keep calling it straw, this hay is dry. So just hitting it with any amount of water, even like this, will allow it to soak up some of it and make the colonization much better. Next step is to layer in the woody material. This is the stuff that, like I said, it's going to be feeding this mushroom bed for much longer. Now, some of these just naturally happen to split, which is actually great because it'll make it even easier for that spawn to get in there, because it's really the sapwood that they're after to colonize first. So I'm going to make sure that at least on this base layer, which is kind of like the main layer here, especially somewhere like Maine, since it gets so cold, I want to make sure that the most inner part of this mushroom bed has really good colonization. So that's why I'm going to start with those. I'm just making that conscious choice. After that, as we build progressive layers, you will see that I'm just putting whatever on top and hoping that that gets colonized too, because it almost certainly will. It is exposed on either end, so that's already a great start. The spawn that we're going to be using, as I mentioned, is the wine cap. This is the mushroom that started it all for me. The first mushroom I've ever grown, basically at all. I actually grew this before I've ever even done the simple desktop kit, because once I heard about it, I was just so fascinated by it. So what I'm going to do here is open this up. I'll show you what it looks like inside, because it is quite interesting.
This bag at this point, we don't need it anymore. It's actually really cool to know, now that I went to their factory, what the purpose of this bag is and how this whole process works. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull out this block. This is spawn. So what spawn is basically all of this mycelium thread. I'm not entirely sure if I nailed that, so Lou will definitely correct me if I'm wrong here. But I do know for a fact that the white that you see here is mycelium. So this is fully colonized throughout, and of course it is. That's how they send it to you. So what I'm going to do here is break it open, and you'll see inside. It's definitely absolutely loaded up with mycelium. It smells really interesting, like a delicious mushroom or forest floor. So now the next thing to do is to take chunks of this. You don't want to just put the whole block on there. It's not going to be as effective at colonizing. And I'm going to break it into like fragments, something like this. I think last time I did it, I broke them into even smaller chunks. You could do a little mix of both. But at this point, the only thing I'm really going to try to do is I want to put like a chunklet like this, something small, right on top of one of these logs just to get it started for sure. I want to have very good guaranteed contact here. I will also crumble some across the straw as well to allow that to sort of propagate throughout this whole region. So I am going to try to be careful here. So I think I broke out about a fifth of this, and I will end up probably using a third and do 2 layers on top of this with the final capping layer that will seal this all in. So that will be a good starting point on the chunks here, just like so. And I'll break off another chunk. And then this one I'm going to sprinkle and crumble, just like this. So just go all the way down, get this all throughout this hay, just like this. So again, nothing fancy here, guys. You see these chunks? I'm actually going to break that up a little bit, just like that. And there's a little piece on the log, but all throughout you'll see that I've scattered some on the hay itself. So the next step here, I'm going to do a thin layer of more mulch, water that in, throw some logs on, and then do another layer. We are now at the final layer here. So that is 3 layers of spawn within this delicious mushroom sandwich that we built. So the final thing to always remember is to put a nice, decent cap on top. So I will be putting an extra thick layer of straw hay on top of all this, and then give it that final deep watering. And that's it. Now, what's going to happen? Well, here we are in Maine. So I don't know, in about a month, it'll probably start snowing. Once it starts snowing, this will be covered. Don't worry, the snow is actually technically an insulator, especially with all this material in here. This will be fine. It will survive, it will thrive. Then, once that snow melts and this gets nice and cleared and a nice spring day comes and warms this bed up, it's probably going to fruit right at the beginning. If not on one of the first warm days, at some point in that early spring period, might be even a month after it starts to actually warm up. Because these mushrooms like fluctuations in temperatures. That's what kind of signals them to know to produce their fruiting bodies. That is what they want. So I'm gonna put this final cap on, water it in, and then we're gonna go check out these sheep over here who keep calling to me. They want me to bring them some apples, and I think we'll do that. So the sheep are anxiously awaiting me. I've been over here with a hori hori, cutting up some overgrown squash and all of these cider apples that they have. Look how sweet these guys are. I could come right up to them. Oh yeah, you like head rubs, huh? You like pets? You want to say hi? So let's go fill this trough over here and see how many sheep we can get. These guys are eager. Oh, they're trying to get in my bag before I even dump it. Look at this. Okay, now they're starting to ram me. Let's go ahead. All right, settle down, guys. Let's go ahead, fill this up. So there are some happy sheep right there, guys. So today is the last day here at Maine for me, and I just realized that I haven't actually told you guys where I am or why I'm messing with this person's garden. So I figured let's introduce them, and I'll show them what I worked out in the garden because they were so busy this week. They were like, just go in there and do whatever you want. So I did do a lot of different stuff. So I figure let's bring her in. I'll show her exactly what I did and give her some ideas and options for what she could do with this space now. It's actually a really great space. So Melissa's in the garden right now, and she's already looking around, trying to see what we did, what sort of damage we did.
What did you do? I didn't even. You did a really good job. Like, let's put it be honest.
Well,
you got to tell me what you guys did in here.
All right, so let's do a little walk around. We'll start over here, but basically the main thing we really focused on was weeding it out.
because the summer weeds here are intense. You have so much rain. It's like whatever something gets in the ground, it wants to grow. It seems like, based on the giantness of all the plants around me.
Well, like I'm doing my best to upkeep the
Yeah,
weeding here. So all right,
I get
it's a little bit. It smells hot mess
Yeah.
gardens.
I think one of the blessings of not having rain in San Diego is that I have way less weeding than most that I could imagine. This is the first time I've experienced like a rainy place like this, right?
All right,
And it wasn't that bad. Just to be clear, it wasn't that bad. But
I'm doing a decent
Yeah,
job here. Like,
totally,
you know, like,
totally. The tomatoes look great.
All
So
right.
anyway, we cleared this spot, and this is going to be, I think you said garlic?
Yes, this is where we did our garlic last year. And we planted way too much garlic. So
Can't
we
have too much garlic.
So we're going to use that as well, but we're going to keep this clean for that.
Okay.
And how much of this space should we use?
I mean, if it was me, I love garlic. I would use the entire bed for garlic. Because the nice thing is also that over winter, there's very few things you could really grow. But garlic is one of those that does really well.
Okay.
But unfortunately, it does last until June, right?
I know.
So this bed is now locked out.
Yes, exactly.
So
Okay.
that's the downside.
So we're not going to do anything in this right now.
No.
All right, take me around here.
Okay. Over here, you have a really productive bed. So just to show you over here, this bed looks really great. Like the tomatoes look way healthier than mine right now, which is really cool to see. And the soil looks really rich and amazing. And it sounds like you've had a pretty crazy amount of production here on tomatoes.
Literally, this bed is just like nitrogen. It goes so wild. We didn't
Yeah.
even plant these this year.
Oh, okay. So these are all volunteer tomatoes.
Everything in this bed is
Oh,
volunteer.
everything. Okay.
Like legit, legit. I mean, look at these
Oh,
cucumbers.
yeah. Cucumbers back here. I didn't even notice
seriously. Look at these. What are they doing?
these. They're living their best life.
Look, no.
Yeah. That's...
On the other side
Yeah.
of the fence. And so
Oh, yeah. There's one down there even. They're spreading. All right. Well, you might have some volunteer cucumbers there next year.
No, dude, you see this one down here? That's insane.
Yeah. No, that's like in the wildflower patch down there. So I don't know if it's gonna be able to outcompete these vigorous flowers, but
I think these cucumbers get fed to the sheep. Also, then I'm not quite sure what this is called because also I don't know everything's called. But
yeah,
this should not be that big.
it actually can get even bigger. So this is a Mexican sunflower or Tithonia. It's one of my favorites because monarchs love it, butterflies in general love it. But the cool thing, it's probably not a problem here, but the cool thing for everyone else is that it's extremely drought tolerant and extremely heat tolerant. So mine looks really sad because it is actually hot or really dry, but yours looks beautiful right now. Like mine is on its way out and yours looks, I mean, maybe it's a little bit too much for you, but
It's we also had 6 more of these that were higher.
yeah, they
and
get
all-
gigantic.
They all fell over
Yeah,
because
I could
they
see
were
that.
too heavy.
Totally.
Now, okay, Jay, tell
Yes.
everybody about Melissa's watermelon experiments.
So did you plant these?
These
They
we
were
did
just a
plant.
little late? Okay.
These we did plant.
So here's the thing. They look incredibly beautiful. They look really happy and healthy. There's even a little guy right there. Now the problem is that this guy's not gonna make it to the winter. Because I think you're probably like 3 weeks away from a frost.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so
exactly.
the chances are slim. I mean, you could wait and see. Maybe there'll be some like perfect condition. But yeah, I mean, it looks so good, you might as well leave it. But next year I would go a little bit earlier. A little bit earlier.
I don't know, Kevin. This is a challenge for all of us. You plant your
Yeah.
watermelons. I'm gonna plant my baby one.
There you go. And your watermelons look healthier than ours. So the beautiful castor bean, unfortunately not edible, but
No.
you know, you could use it for things if you want. But it does look cool.
Dude, Peaches put this in here because like some lady down the street sold it to him, and
He told me.
they were like, "Let's just put it in your garden."
He's like, it's
And I
great for
was like,
pollinators.
what are these?
They look like weird giant alien plants. So the whole garden itself, I am excited for. It's really cool. But over here, I snuck in this little addition late yesterday after being at the fair. I added a pile.
So
for
I
you.
just come home from the fair and I'm like, what is going on here? This is where Shari likes to sleep. Like I had all of this awesome stuff here, and now there's just like
I shoved it over there. Don't
There's
worry.
just we're going to show you the shoving of what Jacques did was like very non-organized
No,
situation.
that's my style.
Thank you for continuing the hot mess theme that is going on in here. This is where we are.
Yeah. Well, the cool
All right,
thing is,
tell us what's
yeah.
going on here.
So this is a pile of hay, and inside there is a bunch of maple chunks that I tore up by hand, and then I scattered wine cap spawn.
Oh, that's what you were doing.
Yeah. So this is going to be your mushroom bed next year. And the cool thing is that it will totally Looks like she's barking at the sheep because she doesn't like that they're not close enough.
She's like,
Oh, no.
we don't want to wait till spring for mushrooms, Jay.
No, well, you have to. Because here's the deal. This is going to be covered in snow, right? At some point.
Yes.
And the nice thing is that since this is like, it's pretty thick. Like, I don't know if you could tell, but it's like, I don't know, like 8 inches or so, maybe more. And you can peek in if you want. It's not like fully colonized. But essentially, so right now it just looks like that. It just looks like a pile of hay.
Oh.
Now, in a little bit of time, what's going to happen is you might even be able to find a chunk of spawn in here. I did scatter it. Oh, there's some. So if you look at that little chunk right there, so there's a little bit of that spawn. So eventually this is going to spread throughout. And it actually, I don't know if you're curious enough there, but it smells like forest floor and like mushroom.
Yeah.
So we'll put that guy back in there.
Okay.
But that's going to entirely rip through this. So this, next time you dig through this in spring, you're not going to be able to move it. It's going to feel like it's glued together. And it's going to be full of like mycelium thread. And then once it gets a little bit warm, it's just going to explode in mushrooms. Like truly explode.
Dude, okay.
So,
okay.
And it's going to be hyped. Like I was so hyped when I came out and saw them because they're just perfect mushrooms popping out of the ground. And it looks really wild.
Okay, so we're gonna put this bad boy to bed.
Yeah, literally.
Because we're not gonna stay here all winter up here and watch this. Like,
well, that's the beautiful
like,
thing is you don't have to do anything.
We're gonna leave this and go back to
tuck 'em
California.
in.
We're gonna tuck it in and go back to California, and then
and then you'll come back and be rewarded. That's the cool thing about mushrooms is that building them, it's not even that hard, but then you don't have to do anything.
okay, cool.
So
That's
it's
good.
easier than a tomato.
This is my kind of gardening,
Exactly.
where we bury, we wait,
Yeah.
and we just see what produces,
Totally.
and that's what emerges. But speaking of that, okay, let's go look at my birdie bed
Okay.
and my grow bag, and this is just how I did it. This is not how you guys did it, but I want Kevin to see what I think is also kind of an emotional experiment with those things. So
Oh, boy.
let's
All right, let's show you
see
guys.
that.
So Shari here is obsessed with burying tomatoes. These were some of the tomatoes that had some anthracnose that we picked out. They're not good for eating, but she's trying to hide them as she was doing this in the garden earlier. I don't know if you're gonna be able to pull this one off, buddy.
I don't know, bud. That's those ones are
She's trying though. All right, so we're rounding the corner, the birdie bed zone. So what do you have going on in here?
Okay. I'm gonna call this Melissa's companion planting. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure.
It's intentional.
I'm not quite sure how we came up with this, but this is what I think is going on.
All right.
There is a massive squash.
Yeah, I see the really thick vine in there.
See
Yeah, that
right
guy's
there?
crazy.
But he's going out of the bed.
There it is.
He's out of the bed. Going
Oh, yeah.
all the
He's
way-
creeping.
He's going all the way.
He's somewhere over there. Maybe past that even.
all the way through there, and then he's coming. all
Another
the way
trail.
up here.
It's a happy squash.
Good job, Shari, right there.
Nice little hop.
So
But your companion, like intentionally you put strawberries here, right? Of course.
yes, 100%. Pete definitely thought it through 100%. Someone told us that's.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a video we have in our catalog that's told us how to do this.
This one is going to be an interesting problem.
But-
So,
Yeah,
because, so this is lemon
it's a
balm.
lemon balm, right?
Yeah. The only reason I say it's a problem is that it's basically mint, right? So it's going to creep. It's going to spread.
I know. We'll show it. We're gonna
yeah.
show these guys over here.
Well,
Like, there
so
it is.
there's the mother plant
There's
right
the
there.
mother plant.
Very happy. Smells great.
It does.
Maybe here it's a little easier to control.
It's also awesome because we use it for tea.
Yeah, it is a great tea.
So we
I
do-
agree.
We do love it. For tea.
If you use it, like it's not a problem at all.
But it did. We use it, but we don't use it that much.
Yeah, there's-
like we're not like pounding the tea.
Yeah, once you get into summertime, it takes off. So you do also have one of my favorites here, which are the straw flowers.
Oh,
I love straw flowers.
I love them so much.
They're so tactile too.
So good.
Uh,
So we have that guy going on.
And then here you had beans. I cleared them out because there was like one flower left, and with the frost coming around the corner, I was like, there's no point in saving them.
What should we put in there?
I think you could still get away with putting carrots in here, and the carrots will like the loose birdie's bed soil.
Okay.
And if you mulch it, they should survive just fine. The
Okay.
cool thing with carrots, or really any like a carrot or root crop, or like broccoli, any brassica, is that once they have cold weather, they get super sweet because it's like a natural defense
Yeah.
to freezing. So the carrots that you would grow here would taste miles better than anything I could pull off in San
Okay.
Diego. Like, for sure. Like, I've always wanted to like try, I might go to the market after, well, it's not winter, but I would love to try like a winter kale grown somewhere where it actually snows. Because apparently it's like sweet, like entirely different.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even in San Diego, it tastes way better in the winter.
Yeah.
But I would love to experience
Okay.
like a snowed on kale. Like you could have kale here, and kale can survive like negative 20 degrees, like 30.
Well, we can plant the kale. And
Yeah,
our
we can't start it
friends
now.
up here can send it to us.
There you go.
We are
Yeah.
not up here like hunkering down.
Totally. And back here, just to point out really quick, is that this is probably a wild rose or native rose, or
It is. I forget what
they're
it's,
making lots of hips right now.
and then this was also for tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually tried one. There's not a lot of like fruit on there,
No.
but it is good.
It is.
And I thought it would be more stringent than it was.
It's also incredibly poisonous.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So
Well,
don't let any.
never
can't-
mind.
You can't eat them, but you can use them for tea. This
so don't do what I
as
did.
far as I know on this one for sure.
Oh, you could see the little bloom over there. It's like that pinkish purple bloom.
Yeah.
It's a nice, simple, like wild rose, not like too gauche and like chunky.
And then so then my bag.
Okay, more squash.
It's just again we didn't plant these. These are all.
Oh, wow.
They're all
Volunteered.
volunteers. And then this guy's been doing.
So fortunately, you didn't deal with the toxic squash syndrome, which is sometimes volunteer squash can actually become toxic because it crosses. But you would know because it would taste absolutely revolting, and you wouldn't eat it.
No, we're eating it, and the
Yeah,
sheep.
it's good.
The sheep are killing it. I think you fed the sheep.
I did,
You fed the sheep.
and they were going to
that.
town on
They
that
loved
squash.
it.
Yeah, they loved it.
Yeah.
That and the apples.
And the apples.
And then the other birdie's bed.
So,
Actually, whoa, there is a strawberry in there. Oh, there's a few
Oh
strawberries.
yeah, eat those.
They're pretty big too.
Oh wait.
Yeah, there's a couple little pops of color in there. Looks like
They're
maybe tomorrow or something.
I know, but these guys are really good. You should
I'll give it a taste.
totally do
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
cute little strawberry.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
This is actually the biggest that they've gotten this
Yeah.
year.
they look really happy. So it's always interesting to see a garden in another place because in San Diego, my strawberries will start to look really haggard. Like these look like they're full of life. They're coming into their own element. Mine are like brown, like the tips are burned. Like this is beautiful.
But also,
Thanks, Shari.
so anyway, so I planted this, and then I was like, nothing's happening, and so I was like, I want more wildflowers. I don't know why I came up with that, idea, but that's why there's like just
This guy.
one random wildflower. 'cause
Yeah.
I spread a bunch of awesome wildflower
Yeah.
seeds, but I didn't realize that wildflowers take months.
So the cool thing is I'm not fully sure how it is in Maine, but you might be able to scatter seed now and they'll overwinter in the soil and then in spring they'll pop up.
I think this I might try. This
Yeah,
experiment,
you could
'cause I
turn one of the
think it's
beds into just flowers. Why
yeah.
not?
So that's kind of
This
what
is like a
some of
coreopsis or something like
yeah,
that.
This is what's going on. That's why there's just some random.
Yeah, you got the nasturtiums here,
This is
which
back to-
love San Diego.
Yeah.
But this is great. I mean,
This is about to hot mess.
I mean, they look happy.
I think
That's the
as
thing.
long as some random thing is
Yeah,
happening
totally.
in whatever's going on that makes literally sort of no sense, then I feel like that's
You got
I think we've
strawberries.
done our-
That's
I
the
think
goal,
we've
right?
done our-
So that was the quick rundown of the before and after Melissa's hot mess garden. It's a little bit less hot mess now, but it's also a personality, right?
Yes.
Like there's no judgment in the garden, guys. Like
Exactly.
obviously mine isn't like a purely organized, beautiful place either. It is beautiful, but it's not organized.
I mean,
so, Yours is more organized than mine. I'll
well,
tell you that much.
It's only organized because it didn't used to be organized, and then I was trying to get more organized, and so I even asked Lauren, who works for us as well, and she
knows a lot.
I was just like, hey Lauren, how should I outline this? She's like, just go with what you feel,
Yeah.
just however you feel it, and just whatever you want to grow. And I think that's what that. I mean, anyway, you know this. Is
I mean,
this is what we love about this.
That's
Just
the
grow what
best
you
thing
love.
because it's all about like this is an epic garden, like mine's an epic garden. Everyone's garden's epic in its own way. And the cool thing is that now you did like your freestyle approach, right?
Yeah.
And you learned some things.
Exactly.
You learned some things. Next year you might do a little different. And that's the whole process. It's not about getting it perfect because if it was perfect the first time, like it wouldn't be fun, in my opinion.
No,
I would get bored.
no, and you want it to be epic.
Yeah.
Like you want to say like
And
this
your own version.
in your own version of what that is, and like yeah. I think my bed, my bed over here with the squash is legit epic.
It is. It's an epic squash.
Every day the squash comes out. I know when the squash gets big, and Jacques will show you this in another clip.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, this thing is enormous, and people are like, you can't eat that. I'm like, but it's epic. It's like,
If it's a win to you, it's a win.
It's a
so
total
that's
win,
all.
so-
That's all it is.
yeah, exactly.
And
So,
just again, though, thanks for having us here.
Of
It's
course.
been like super amazing being here in Maine,
Of course.
hanging out with your sheep and your dog and your garden.
Exactly.
So-
Well, stay tuned for more epicness from the East Coast.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be back.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
So go back to California and show us some more epic over there.
Yeah, I'm gonna start some motions there for sure too.
Oh, yes. And then we'll check in on those.
All right, perfect.
All right.
All right, I'll see you guys next time.
Later.